Okay, I'm going to break down the 2-1 buy down here. And, that's a big buzzword right now for real estate. And, as far as mortgages right now, it seems like everyone's talking about it. And it's such a good asset to use. If I'm a seller, this is how I can stand out in this market trying to sell my house. Okay, so from the mortgage side, where I come from, it really makes sense, especially with the economy, where it's going and so forth. So let's just dive in. I'm going to pull up this PowerPoint here so you guys can take a look at it. And then we will go through that. Let's open this up even more. Okay. And let's go through this slide right here. And let's do this one here. Okay. So as you can see here, mortgage rates and, mortgage rates every time start coming down, every time it's announced that we're having, like a recession. Okay. So if you look here, 1980 went down from, roughly from 16% to 12%, 1981 to 1982, 18, 13%, early, 1990s from 11 to 8.8, and then so forth. Okay. So the reason I'm showing you this, I'm trying to show you a history of where rates are going to be going. And, every time like we, have a slowdown, like, as far as our economy slowing down and, going into like a recession. So the next slide here, just showing you the chart here. Basically, once again, back in here in 1970s and 80s, it's crazy, right? 18% down to 13%, and then 7.3 to 6.75, 6% to 4.8, and 3.75 to 2.75, and all the way down there. But the housing always stays strong during a recession. Okay, as you look here, the dark bar here is for the recessions, and then the white one is obviously the index. Okay, the Case-Shiller index. As you can see, that's always gone up pretty much during recessions. It's always pretty solid. So keep that in mind, okay? And then basically, the inventory is still going to be the issue, okay? So how do you separate yourself? How do you separate yourself as a seller? Try to separate yourself in this marketplace, okay? Look at how low the inventory is. And this is an old chart. It's actually probably a little bit less now. Current, houses for sale, just under like 1 million right now. So right now that's still gonna be an issue. So you have to kind of separate yourself, trying to buy something and trying to sell something, especially in this market. And look at this number of households here. Okay. 14 million more households, almost 3 million fewer homes. Okay. A stat that I always like to tell people is that if you take each decade, okay, per decade. Okay. So if you say from 1980 to 1990, 1990, 2000, 2000, 2010, those 3 decades, per decade, there was roughly about 25 million homes being built per decade. From 2010 to 2020, okay, there was barely 7 million. So think about that. That's a huge drop off. That's only one aspect of what's going on with the marketplace right now as far as inventory. Okay, so keep that in mind when you start going through this. Always like to show an overview of what's happening with the economy, where we're going, and so forth, and the next steps. All indicators point to rates coming down, okay, in 2023. Once it's officially announced that we are in a recession, I think we are now, but once it's officially announced, all indicators point to rates coming down. Now, there's no guarantees. We know that, okay? But looking at history, just like I showed you back on these 2 other slides here, just taking a look at this history here. Every time there's a recession, rates come down. Recession, rates come down. Recession, rates come down. Okay, so be prepared. And indicators point to roughly around 5%. No guarantees. Once again, we don't know. We don't have a magic ball, but we have history to look at. So when we look at this, okay, so what exactly is a seller funded buy down? All that is seller concessions. Okay, all you're doing is taking seller concessions. The seller, instead of dropping down, dropping his sales price down X amount of dollars, let's say 2.5%, because that's roughly what the buy down is costing. It's probably a little bit less, but let's say 2.5%. So the seller is giving that to you. Well, instead of dropping their price, which does very little for the seller as far as payments and so forth, instead of doing that, let's give a seller concession because it's going to save them a lot of money. So let's go through that here. Okay, so for an example here, sales price is $315, the loan amount's $299, $250. It's a 30-year loan, 7%. Okay, so the first year, the 2-1 buy down, all the 2 means is 2% lower than the market rate. So it's going to be 5% here, okay, which is going to save you, just under $400. In the second year, it's going to go up to 6%. Okay, it's not an arm. It's not going to be, not knowing where it's going to go. You know exactly what it's going to be. 7% is the note rate. The first year is going to be 5. Second year is going to be 6. Third year is going to be 7. And as you can see here, it's from 3 years. From the third year on, it's going to be 7%. Okay, so you're going to save a lot of money on a monthly basis here. Okay. Let me go through here one other thing here too. So the borrower's loan is still being paid down on a 30-year fix. The borrower is qualified for the payments for the payment the payment note of 7%, not 5%, but 7%. So you still have to qualify like you normally do. Okay. And if you refinance before then, and I'm going to get to that, if you're going to refinance before the year 3 and so forth, anything left in that buy down escrow account is going to go be applied to the principal amount. Okay. Okay, so why would a seller agree to a seller credit? Seller credits to help the home sell faster in the buying markets. Think about the advertising of it. Hey, we just lowered the price and this and that. Well, it's not real too exciting, but hey, I can help you get 2% lower on the going mortgage rate than the house down the street. Okay, that opens up eyes because now it's cash flow. Price reductions are costlier than the seller credits. Usually is. So like I said, it's about 2.5%. It's usually around 2.4, 2.3, somewhere depending on the loan amount and so forth. So that is usually a lot less to give out from the seller than it is to try to lower the price to try to be seen. All right. So and then the benefits, the buyer benefits obviously allows the buyer to ease into home ownership, gets them the savings, does not increase the loan amount. Okay. And it's a safe way to get into a house in a rising interest rate market. Okay. The seller credit can be offset the closing costs, that's usually what it's done for, before in the past, and it can still be done. So let's say the buy down cost, let's just round it up to 2.5%. Let's say you get a seller concessions of 4%. So we could take the extra 1.5% applied to your closing costs, so it doesn't come out of your pocket. So it's less money coming out of your pocket at closing, and the 2.5% could be applied to the buy down. Okay, and it can temporarily reduce the interest rate. Okay, is a permanent buy down better than a seller fund? So a permanent buy down, all that is just getting part of that seller concessions and buying down a rate a little bit. Okay, so if you buy it down, let's say to 6.5%, let's say it costs you 2.25% in points, it's going to save you about $100 a month compared to the temporary buy down, which I was showing you for the first year per month. It was like roughly almost $400. Okay. So seller funded buy down. So now let's look at the seller funded temporary buy down. Once again, first year 7%, so you're looking about almost $400. The second year is about almost $200, and the third year goes up to 7%. So it's going to save you a lot more cash flow per month. Okay, so you can apply it in multiple different ways here. Okay, you can apply it. Let's say you get 5% seller concessions. You can take 2.5 going towards a buy down, and then you can take the other 2.5 going towards cash to close, going towards closing costs, prepaids, and all the other stuff. Okay, you can split it up any way that you want on this. Okay. Which is good. I mean, obviously, it's got to be within the guidelines. So you can do some towards buy down. You could do 2-1 buy down. You could do 1-0 buy down, 1-0 buy down. It would just go from 7% to 6%, and then apply the rest of the percent. Let's say 4% towards closing costs. So there's many ways to do it. As a seller, it's cheaper to give, like I said, the buy down or the seller concessions than lower the sales price. Okay, gives a lot more benefit, and it's going to get a lot more eyeballs on your house. Okay. Now the interest is going to be more. So on the temporary buy down, as you can see here, the interest, if you look over the first 5 years or so, it's roughly about 7,500 here. Okay. So just keep that in mind. It's going to be a little bit more interest, but a lot of people don't hold on to their houses. Now I'm going to get to the point where I just showed you with the economy. Once it's called recession, when rates come down, and they most likely will in 2023. Let's say it comes down. Let's say it's not exactly at 5%. Let's say it's like at 5.5%. Well, it might be a good time to refinance here because now you can get into a 30-year at a 5.5%, and anything left over in that buy down escrow account can come back and be applied towards the principal. It has to be applied to the principal. It's got to go somewhere. Okay. All right. So the bottom line, some buyers are, like the prospect of the payment of cash flow and so forth. There's people moving into a house, they need extra money to paint, to fix up, kids are going to college, who knows? Okay, so just kind of keep that in mind. There's so many different aspects that you can use that extra money for. Okay, so hopefully that helps you. If you get any questions on it, please let me know. You'll see my information down at the bottom here. Text us or email us and we can jump on it right away for you. Okay, talk to you soon.